Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Personnel Committee meeting of Derby City Council. It's the 27th of June 2024, 10:30 a.m. For the sake of regularity and for the new members here, welcome. I want to go around and everybody announce their name and in what capacity they're here today. So I'll start. I'm John Evans, Councillor and Chair of this meeting. Thank you.
Principal lawyer.
Hello, I'm Jamie Morhall. I'm a councillor and I am new to this committee.
Hello, Councillor Jonathan Smale, committee member for the second year.
Seconded by me, Councillor Blakely's board.
Sheikh, recruitment manager, here to observe.
Penny Hyde, talent acquisition advisor, also here to observe.
Councillor Alison Holmes, committee member.
Councillor Kozlowski, my first time.
Councillor Sue Bonser, and I'm vice chair of the committee.
Adele Ashmore, strategic HR manager, here to present the attendance quarterly report.
It's more HRD and I'm presenting the commission.
Hi everyone, Carl Ward, occupational health and wellbeing manager, and I'll be presenting a wellbeing update, an occupational health update.
Dominic Monaghan, Democratic Services Officer.
Right, thank you. Right, we'll start. Do I have any apologies for today's meeting?
Yes, Sarah Chambers.
Sarah Chambers, thank you. No further apologies. Right. Item 2, late items. I don't believe there are any late items. If they are, then they're extremely late, so I'm still not aware of them at this stage. So, no late items. Item 3, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any interest to declare in relation to this meeting? No? Okay, item 4, the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of April 2024. I can go through them. If does anybody have any comments? Page 1. It may not be applicable to all of you actually, because not everybody in this room was there. Page 2, 3, 4, and 5 minutes end. Does anybody have any comments or say? No? Okay, can we take those minutes as read? Thank you. Okay, item 5. Colleague and health and wellbeing update and quarter 4 23-24 attendance management performance. Thank you, Adele. Over to you.
This is the standard report that we do for the committee, which is reporting on the quarter 4 attendance and occupational health and wellbeing offer. So we're asking the personnel committee to note the recommendations at 2.1 and the colleague health and wellbeing offer that's available to the council colleagues. To note at 2.2 the council's attendance management performance for quarter 4 of 3.35 FTE days lost and a year-end actual result of 12.08 FTE days lost for 23-24 against the target of 10.5 FTE days lost. And for also the council for personnel committee to note the recommendation that we continue with 10.5 FTE days lost for the remaining 24-25 reporting period. So I'll take you through now the paper, and first of all is the occupational health and wellbeing approach, where Carl's going to present that section of the report to you today.
Thanks, Adele. So, Personnel Committee have regularly received updates about the ongoing work of Occupational Health and Wellbeing Service and the continued development of the Council's health and wellbeing approach. And I've got some good news to share with you today, which we'll read on. But it feels like it's been coming. I've promised. So here we go. We're coming to the session with it now. So, Occupational Health Service have achieved its annual SLA. As it does of 15 days from referral to consultation. The team are on track against service level agreements, delivering appointments within 5 to 10 days of a receipt of a referral from a referring manager. Council's wellbeing strategy has been approved and it will be launched on the 1st of July. So on Monday, we'll be live with our wellbeing strategy. At the colleague conference in June, information was shared about the exciting wellbeing developments for all our colleagues. We use this opportunity to share the plan to increase the mental health first aid network to 310 colleagues from the current 260 that we currently have in-house, and introduce a new recruitment drive. So part of the wellbeing strategy, we're launching wellbeing champions across the organisation who will be advocates to the wellbeing support package that we deliver, and there's been a positive reaction to the roles, and an update on progress will be provided at the next meeting. Really exciting stuff. Another recent development was the launch of the council's menopause statement and commitment to colleagues experiencing the menopause. Again, this was very well received. There's another example of how the colleague wellbeing offer is being developed. As you all know from previous meetings, an integral part of the wellbeing offer is the employee assistance programme, which is externally hosted. Colleagues can access information range of health and financial matters 24/7. A total of 11 new counselling sessions were opened in March, a further 9 in April and 7 in May. And those counselling cases are actual sessions that are going through the full range of counselling. To note, People Services Directorate remains the highest user of the counselling service out of all sessions during the period of March to May. The average take-up remains at 7 counselling sessions, so they're nearly seeing the full sessions through, which it means at 7 sessions we're getting people, the cases closed. And the most popular format is still telephone consultations. The top 3 reasons for accessing counselling services across all council directorates were stress and anxiety, women's health, and family reasons. This has remained consistent for the last 6 months that you'll recall at these meetings, and it remains key to the attendance deep dive being carried out across the service. This is in line with industry data and not unique to Derby City. Personal issues accounted for 78% of access, and work-related issues accounted for 22%. So 78% of people accessing those sessions were for personal reasons, stress and anxiety, women's health, or family reasons, and 22 were related. Whilst the data of who accessed counselling is never disclosed, as you'd appreciate, headline figures of levels of take-up are shared at a directorate level. And the focus continues with managers from the People Services Directorate to understand from a HR business partnering approach what actions can be taken to understand and address the level of absence and our current EAP usage numbers.
Then at 4.3, we move on to the attendance management performance for Q4, which the year-end result of 12.08 FTE days is a positive decrease of 1.26 days follower from 2022-23, which was a 13.34 FTE days lost. So for me, this is a really good news report in terms of you can see that there has been a decrease on the attendance across the council. You'll see at Q4, the highest of the directorates was placed at 12.08 FTE days lost, followed by People Services at 11.95 FTE days lost, and then Chief Executives at 9.16 FTE days lost. The top 3 absence reasons reported remained the same constantly throughout the year, with stress and anxiety coming in at number 1, with 21.37% of all absence, musculoskeletal with 16.70% of all absence, and still at number 3 is post-operations recovery and other hospital treatments, which is at 8% of all the absence. On to 4.4, and as a bit of an update on where we are moving forward with the project group, we have had we've had mentioned at this personnel committee the ONS report, which is the Office for National Statistics and is the reporting for data. The last set of data that is on the ONS was for 2022, and we're proposing to move forward over this next year with comparisons against the data within the ONS, so that we can see against the 10.5 FTE target, how we are running against the percentages both in the private and the public sector. To give you a little bit of an indicator of where we are currently at the end of the year, we have at the minute, based on the ONS data calculation, we're running at 5.15%, and public sector is running at currently 3.6% and private is 2.3%. So it gives us some additional comparators with the public and private sector, other organisations. So we'll still be running with the FTE data for this next year, because that's the one that the majority of councils across England are using at the minute as part of their performance indicators, but we will also be monitoring against the percentage outturn as well. So the attendance project group continues, and that comprises of heads of service and area specialists from performance, occupational health and strategic HR, and we've been helping to meet to help improve attendance across the council, to support managers in them and their accountability for taking forward any cases of non-attendance across the council. So 4.5, the future focus for 24,
Thanks,
25.
Adele. So the exciting bit from previous personnel committees, the focus throughout the remainder of 2024 is to launch the wellbeing strategy, which I've already mentioned, launches on Monday for all council colleagues. And it's one of our key work streams for the People and Culture programme. So really exciting that that's out there. The prevention focused wellbeing approach supports the vision of ensuring that health and wellbeing is embedded in everything we do and championed at all levels with senior buy-in. The focus over the next few months will be develop and launch the Wellbeing Champion Network, which I mentioned we've had a successful recruitment start to the campaign. We'll be launching Signpost colleagues on a range of health and wellbeing issues. The aim is to have 10% of the workforce as wellbeing champions and advocates promoting the stuff that we do. We will launch the new internal web wellbeing pages to support colleagues and provide the tools needed to make healthy choices so that the colleagues can continue to take responsibility for improving their own health and wellbeing. It does say develop a wellbeing activity calendar. That is more or less developed. So next time will be the launch, and we're very close to that. So develop a wellbeing calendar and all the activities associated with planned actions to support the identified champion network. This will be a wide range of wellbeing support. It'll be a suite of offer for all colleagues. Hopefully give you an update next time. Continue with the attendance group work and ensure managers are making progress against their action plans in each of their service areas, as Adele touched on, to bring the absence down.
So we're asking the Personnel Committee today to accept the recommendations at 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3. Are there any questions?
Councillor Bonser.
Yeah, thank you for your report, and thank you very much for those very positive news from occupational health for meeting those targets. I think that's really positive, and giving that support to people in a timely manner. That's great. In terms of the attendance deep dives, this is something that we've spoken about before in identifying the top reason for absence was stress and anxiety, wasn't it? But where is that occurring? And, is there a cluster of that? We talk about this quite regularly about, is the MSK in place? I would like to understand that and what is being done in those particular areas. And I know we've talked about a deep dive, but as a committee, I don't think we've had any response to that, have we?
No, I don't think so.
We have done a deep dive across the previous year to kind of identify where stress and anxiety is. We do find that the majority is not work related. It's down to personal reasons, which correlates with the EAP service access. You don't particularly get whole services that everybody's off with stress related absence in that area to identify. Potentially, we need to go in and do that as part of a targeted approach, but the HRAs do have, when there is a case of work-related stress that is flagged, they go in with and ensuring the managers doing the engagement that they need to, along with the wellbeing support plan for that individual, and looking at if it is a work-related stress. Normally that's as an outturn or an outcome of other processes, for example, that are happening, but mainly it's personal related stress that is the impact.
Okay, and the MSK, I mean, that's still 16 point, whatever it was, 16.9%.
Yeah.
And is that concentrated in any particular area?
There have been pockets, haven't there?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
So there has been pockets. Deep dive has really been a real good analysis to understand really where, rather than a blanket approach, we can target the different areas. Part of the wellbeing support package that is coming allows us to target even further. So the work we have been doing for MSK, you find it quite high in Street Pride, where manual workers. So it's being proactive and having support in place now where people can identify if they've got an issue or something that may cause them time off. We can get in there early rather than later. But hopefully next committee meeting, when I've got the news about the calendar, you'll see examples of where that deep dive is being used and going into certain areas.
So as a committee, will we see the results of the deep dive? Any stats on on that analysis? Can we ask?
Request it, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly we could bring it, excuse me, a headline report which sits alongside the information that Carl will bring to the next meeting, hopefully, about the enhanced wellbeing package that you've been talking about. And then I think what we're planning to do is obviously then see, along with the accountability of managers who continue to work closely with colleagues to support them to be well and at work. And as a demonstration through, we've seen sickness levels coming down. We'll also be assessing over the next year and beyond how much impact that continued management support alongside some of the wellbeing approaches combined is supporting our attendance approach. So that's a slightly longer term, I think. Are we
able to add that to our recommendation? Yeah, to request that, or do we need to ask some recommendations, or do we need to? Can we just informally request that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to add it as a recommendation, but if I'll take the consensus of the room. Really, is everybody in agreement? Yeah. No objections? Certainly, Sue. Or should I say, Councillor Bonser? You don't mind. Any other questions from any councillors? No. Sorry, Councillor Holmes, or should I say Alison? I've got to carry on now in this vein.
So it's probably a dumb question, I don't know. The top is stress, but only a small amount of that is work-related stress. So the people that have the home-related stress,
Personal reasons, yeah.
what can be done from your point of view to help that? Because it's a vast amount of people, clearly. What can be done? Do you help them in any way, or do you only help with the work related?
No, we would have the same approach, but we would be doing the management engagement at the manager level, speaking to that individual, referring to occupational health to see whether or not how long their absence is potentially going to be, and whether or not we can intervene and offer other work for them as part of that period. So we would do everything that we would ordinarily do for a work-related stress issue. It's about that continual engagement and signposting. As Carl said, we're going to have Justin Care in Derbyshire. She's got a number of packages that can help people as well out of work as well as in work. We've got other things on our My Derby network for if it's reasons for debt, for example, debt counselling. We've worked with trade unions as well in terms of what support they can give their colleagues. So we are very proactive with these people.
I think, just add to that with the Councillor Holmes with the EAP stats, because we don't get the individuals, it's very hard to do that because it's confidential service and they can go. What we hope to do with the deep dive and the new package coming in is promote this, embed it, and the Wellbeing Champion Network and the Wellbeing Support Plans, whether it's work or personal, getting to the bottom of what can be done to support our colleagues that work very hard for us, that have got tough times at home, whatever that may be. That's the bit we've got to get under, and then we'll understand more from a management point of view, from a data-driven point of view. But yeah, that's something that we've worked on, and I'm really positive and keen on getting that embedded and running that as an organisation, because that will help, I'm sure, with people. I use the bereavement, for example. If somebody's going through a bereavement, it's a very tough time. If they go off with that bereavement, what have we got to support them? Because nationally there's crews and things. So yeah, we can work really well. So watch this space, Council.
And thank you for a comprehensive, good report again, as per.
Only a couple of comments, really. It's reassuring and promising to know that you, Adele, that you're looking at the ONS statistics as well. I want to be aware that we don't end up in a situation where we've got so much data we're just swamped in. And I'm more, and I can tell by the way you presented that you're also aware of. So that's good. And then I noticed those three main items: the stress, musculoskeletal, and operations post. They only account for less than 50% of the total. So all the others then are smaller than the smallest percentage there of 8%. It'd be interesting to have a breakdown of them one day, not right down to minute detail level, but what's that other 50% made up of? Yeah.
Viruses, infections, those kind of things.
Yeah,
I mean, the ONS data is limited when we're doing any comparisons because, for example, our third highest, which is the operations and post-operative recovery, they don't have that as a category on the ONS data, so we don't have anything to compare with for that one. But yes, we can do a comparison showing what we have now in terms of the council and what those percentages are for our current absence reasons.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Adele, and thank you, Carl. Any other questions? No? All right. Yeah, keep up the good work. We'll move on to the next item then. Item 6, the apprenticeship programme. I believe that's you, Liz Small.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you. So my colleague Tanya would normally present this report to committee, but apologies from Tanya, she's unexpectedly not able to be here today. But if I can take the committee through the highlights of the report, Chair, and obviously happy to pick up any questions. So we usually have a standing item report on the apprenticeship programme for the Personnel Committee, and one of the recommendations on this report is a standing item in relation to the levy payments made to date. But the other main feature of this report and recommendation about noting the data in here is to give the committee an update on the recent LGA apprenticeship survey that the council has participated in. So if I can take that to committee through those two areas and the main emphasis on drawing out the headlines from the apprenticeship survey. So as the committee will see in the supporting information, just to set some context, the LGA carry out an annual apprenticeship survey, which covers organisational issues around how many apprenticeship starts has the council had in each financial year, how much of the levy they've been able to transfer to other organisations and businesses in their locality, and how they run and operate their apprenticeship programme. So, as I say, this report that Tanya has prepared is all right, some of those headlines. So, you'll be assured that there is some positive feedback from the LGA on how we're performing on our apprenticeships. So if we move on to 4.12 and some of the data there, but again, I'll just draw out the headlines because there's quite a lot of information in the report. The apprenticeship starts factor that the LGA look at includes new recruits who are employed as apprentices or existing colleagues who are already here and start an apprenticeship program. And existing committee members might be aware that Tanya reported previously that nationally there used to be a public sector target for public sector organisations, including councils, who have over 250 or more staff. We used to have a target that we had to employ an average of at least 2.3% of our workforce as people who are starting an apprenticeship within the financial year. So there isn't a requirement now nationally to still report on that, but councils are still asked and other public sector employers to provide that information. So one of the areas that the LGA looked at in this survey is where we rank as a council in comparison to other unitary authorities and other councils in England in terms of the number of new starters that we have. And as I say, new start apprentices could be somebody who's new to the organisation coming on an apprenticeship, or someone who's been here for a period of time but is starting an apprenticeship as part of their development with us, which we're really keen to support. So you'll see, committee, the tables across pages 2 and 3 with quite a lot of data from the financial years 2017-18 up to 22-23, which was the period that the LGA were looking at. Probably some of the key points to draw out from some of that helpful information from the LGA is that we are performing well as a council, and that, as you can see from the tables, over the 6-year period, the majority of the time, Derby is ranked in either the upper middle quartile of councils or in the top quartile on 8 occasions. And that's across our performance on the number of new start apprenticeships that we've had, and also how we're performing against that public sector target of at least 2.3% of the workforce. So I hope it's an encouraging position for the committee to note that we've been performing strongly over those years, including recognising, of course, that a lot of councils, when the apprenticeship levy first began, it was sort of a new approach that councils have taken. And obviously during this time span period, we've also all experienced the COVID pandemic, which had an impact on some of our learning activity and some of the brand new apprentices who started with us. But it's a positive picture and pleasing to note. The LGA also looked, if I can draw out a couple of points from 4.13, about how we're doing on our apprenticeship levy spend. We always report to the committee on that, but the LGA also look at it as part of their survey. And Tanya had attached some appendices to this report, and one of the appendices shows that when we look at the charts, the pie charts that are in the appendices nationally, regionally, and by council type, we've got a really high spend of our levy. In fact, one of the highest, just over 70% of our levy is spent and has been spent, which is significant compared to many other councils. And we have the lowest expiration of funding percentage at just over 14%. And again, just to remind ourselves that expiration of funding is we pay into the National Levy Fund each month as we are required to by law. That builds up as a fund every month, and we can draw down on those funds and use them over a 24-month rolling period. But when we get to the end of that 24-month rolling period, we haven't spent all of that levy. Like any other employer, that levy goes back into the national apprenticeship program. So we do sometimes have expired funds, which I'll come on to later, but our expiration of funding is really low, and the lowest percentage at 14%, which is great. Also, part of what the survey looked at is something called the LGA maturity model, and this is a framework for local authorities to develop and grow the apprenticeship programs, to keep improving them and to keep maximising opportunities for people to continue to develop their skills, and certainly from a council perspective, use those skills to help provide great services for residents in our city. And again, there's quite a lot of helpful information in this section of the report and also in the appendices. But if I can draw the committee's attention perhaps to a couple of the key headlines across the assessment on the maturity model against 6 different standards around things like what's it like for an apprenticeship, what's that apprenticeship experience really like, being an apprentice for the City Council, how well have we implemented the apprenticeship programme, have we got robust procurement in place when we're working with different training providers, and you'll see some of the detail in the report. But a couple of key headlines, if I may, Chair, are on 3 of the standards. That's implementation, of how well we've implemented the approach on apprenticeships, how our apprentices actually feel when they're doing an apprenticeship, what sort of learning experience they're getting and the opportunity to use those skills and develop, and also our procurement and provider management. We've been assessed as being in the mature range, that we've developed it really well and we're in the mature range. A little bit of work to do in some of the other areas around workforce development, working with the maintained schemes and leadership of culture. Although for all of those 3 standards, we are either performing in line with other council comparators or exceeding performance with other council comparators. So again, Chair, I hope it's giving the committee some assurance that the LGA as an external sort of assessor has reviewed that we're working well with our apprenticeship programme. So Tanya summarised in 416 that point that I've just made about overall this is a very positive report, highlighting how well we're performing against our peers, not just regionally and locally, but nationally as well, and by council type as a unitary authority. But it also, it's not a position for us to be complacent in any way, and I hope we will never be that. It also highlights some areas for us to build on some of the good work that we've been doing. So that summarises, Chair, the aspects in relation to the LGA apprenticeship survey. But if I can just briefly draw the committee's attention at 4.2 to the levy payments, which is a point that we always share with the committee. So this isn't the LGA's assessment, this is us confirming to the committee that since the start of the apprenticeship levy until middle of June, just a few weeks ago, we've drawn down just over £5.2 million, or rather we paid in, I should say, not drawn down, we paid in the total £5.3 million into our digital account. And then we've drawn down just over 3.1 million of that for our internal apprenticeship programme. And we've also transferred just under £300,000 into the local economy. We're able to transfer, again, if we can just remind committee, we're able to transfer, as other employers are, a percentage of our apprenticeship levy to support skills development in the city. And we have been doing that successfully. And again, the LGA has drawn out that we've performed really well on our transfer of funds. Again, that's just over 14% of our levy has been transferred, whereas sort of median with other councils is 7%. So that's us being able to transfer just under £300,000 to skills development to organisations in the city. And then the table just at the bottom of that page, just to remind the committee of how much we've paid in each year since the levy started into the digital account and how much we've spent each year. And obviously we've just got the first quarter for this year where we stand currently. Chair, through you, it would be to ask the committee if they're happy to support the recommendations of noting the overall, I think, very positive picture from the LGA survey report, and also to note as a standing point our payments made to date and the money that we've been able to invest, both at the City Council colleagues, but also in the city in terms of the skills agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. There's a lot of information to take in at a relatively fast pace. Is there any councillors have any comments or would like to make further inquiry related to this information?
Not for me, just to say thank you for the comment. I'm quite buoyed with the report, especially obviously the appendices and the apprenticeship levy breakdown on that figure 11. You know, you look at that around circle comparable to other local authorities, it's quite incredible. So well done to everyone in the teams for doing that. It seems like we seem to be a bit of a leader in this. And have you ever had contact from other local authorities about how we are managed to perform and how they're trying to compare themselves to us?
Yes, and thank you for your feedback, Councillor Smale. Yes, Tanya is a member of various regional groups, including things like the D2N2 Compact, and also regularly links in with colleagues in the LVA, the DFE, the Department for Education, in terms of the national approach on apprenticeships. And Tanya shares what we do as a council, but we also pick up and pick up best practice ideas from other peers as well, because it's as we can see since 2017, it's a continuing approach for us in the council. So yes, that best practice sharing, we try and share that with other councils and bodies, but we also learn from others as well, try and continuously improve.
Just to follow up regarding the transfer of funds, and obviously we're doing double what is comparable to all unitary. Is there I mean, obviously, understandably, some businesses, but there must be some good news stories out there, local businesses being able to tap into this. Is there not a way of helping to break that down for councils to see where that is going in future? You know, if businesses are allowed it, because I think there'll be a lot of people out there that's probably not aware of what the council is providing a function of a levy. They might just think it's inside, but it's obviously not. It's external as well. But it'd be nice to have a breakdown of companies who have built successful apprenticeship schemes from the back of transfer.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Smale. Just if I may, Chair. So yes, we can certainly pick that up again, Councillor Smale. Tanya has brought that previously to committee, but we didn't include that detailed breakdown this time because there were already quite a number of appendices in relation to the LGA report, but we could happily build that back in again into the next committee report just as a refresh of that data. And we do work very closely with our colleagues in the skills and inclusion team and the economic growth team in terms of that business development and supporting our communities through other opportunities in the city, but we can happily put that back on the agenda, back on the report for next time, Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? I have one or two. Not. We mentioned about the 2.3%, where we have 250 staff or more. What is our percentage? Do we know? If not, at the next meeting, it'd be nice to know. Just to know how we are against that as a percentage against that benchmark, not just against other national, regional, local authority. That's one minor question. And also, those, and I'm always banging on about this, that funding that's not spent, that 14.36% that's expired. And I know it still goes into national funding for apprenticeships, so it's not lost in the ether forever. But is there any way we could explore the idea of having an on-the-shelf apprentice scheme ready to give out to another company, external, Jonathan Smales mentioned, or whoever, so that when we get close to expiration, we can say we've got this that can be used, but it's not there to be broadcasted because it's there waiting to go if it's available, but it's not promised. I mean, that's quite a deep question, I suppose. I don't know.
It's a good question, Chair. I think an on-the-shelf apprenticeship is challenging in the sense of some of the businesses in the city will be very specific, very bespoke in terms of the services they provide or what they produce if they're in manufacturing. So what we try and do is work very closely with them, to Councillor Smale's point about those good news stories, to actually be engaging with them on an ongoing basis to find out what is it that would make a difference for you. What if you were applying for some of this funding of ours, what sort of apprenticeships are you looking for? Because they do vary quite broadly in their range and breadth. So it's a really good question that you've raised, but I think an on-the-shelf apprenticeship is quite a challenge for some of those small businesses because they are quite bespoke in terms of whether they're in the music industry or creative arts, whatever. It's quite specific to them. But we do try and keep that ongoing engagement, as I say, and not just wait for businesses to come to us and say, can we access some of the funding?
Yes.
So our colleagues in learning and inclusion and economic development really have strong links and strong ties with the local business community to keep that conversation going.
Yeah, I'd just like to keep that money in Derby.
Yes.
And have it invested in Derby apprenticeships, really. And I know for me, the term apprenticeship, I still have to come to terms with it. It's like my apprenticeship, and I did an electrical apprenticeship, but it's not these days. It encompasses such a broad spectrum. But it'd be lovely if we could see that expanded. Anyway, and then my last comment is on the tables and things at the back on Pillar 3, workforce development and recruitment and retention. And I think we're in the mature bracket now. So it'd be interesting. It says apprenticeships recruitment seeks to help. I'll wait till you found it. Not page, it's Pillar 3. It's on the second one down. Yeah, and I believe we're in the mature column there. Apprenticeships recruitment seeks to help council to address skill shortages in key service areas and bring in new starters into entry-level roles. Apprenticeships proactively offered. So it'd be interesting to know what those key ones are if we're exploring those areas now. Not today. It'd be interesting to know what those key ones are if we are in that mature bracket now. If I've understood right, I think we are.
We're currently in maturing, Chair, according to so that's the column
between the two. Yeah.
However, the point is well made, and certainly Tanya and I can bring back some further information on that, because there's a lot of proactive work happening around how do we continue to bring in new colleagues into the organisation on the apprenticeship, but also to retain colleagues as well. There's in committee you'll be aware of reports previously on, as you've rightly said, a whole range of apprenticeships, social work apprenticeships, leadership development, finance and accountancy, grounds maintenance. So yeah, we'll happily bring some further information to the next committee, Chair.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report, and thank you to Tanya as well, who produced it. Any other comments, councillors? Well, that concludes the meeting now. Thank you all for attending this morning, and we'll see you all in September.